we will get started.
First of all, I want to thank you, Keller Williams, for having us here today to discuss what we feel is very important content. Specifically, thank you, Chris Clausen, for connecting us with this great organization. I bought my house. My wife and I bought our house in 2009. Keller Williams, great time to buy. It was. Matt and I, he's my son. We were partners in We Know Cyber. We founded the company in 2019, and we've been serving small business cybersecurity needs locally since then. Mike and I were stationed together in Afghanistan. He was doing his intelligence gathering, and I was doing my technology, and got into cybersecurity at that time, and have been working a lot in that field, hacking and protecting against the Taliban, hacking and protecting against ISIS, multiple other things, large organizations like JP Morgan Chase, Booz Allen Hamilton, and others. But my heart's always been in local cybersecurity. And we can talk more about that is Matt. He's the heart and soul of our business. I'm like the technology wizard, and this guy like drives us and keeps us focused. And this is Matt Billiard.
Hey. Matt, certified ethical hacker, sort of the lead emphasis of the company. It's really important to me that we kept the business local and keep the focus on securing our community because we live here. I'd like if it was safe to connect to the local, business's Wi-Fi without being worried about picking up a malware or some sort of, unscrupulous observation of what I was doing. So we want to build it from the ground up, outwards and up, making sure that we're raising the bar for cybersecurity. For a lot of companies that think it's too expensive or out of their reach to even think about, we lower that entry point, make it safer and easier for businesses to consider it as, attackers are considering them. We need to make sure that everybody at least has it on their radar. So thanks.
Here's Mike Wilburn.
All right. So I'm Mike Wilburn, good friend of Chris Clausen. We have a lot of good times together. At the same time, I have been doing cybersecurity in some way, shape, or form for like the last 15 years. I get to talk to you about the scary part today, which is kind of the intel officer part, which is something I started out doing in the military a long time ago. However, we're really not here to scare you. We're here to show you how cybersecurity can really enable your business and enable what you're doing. This is kind of our agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about who are the bad guys that we're talking about, how they operate, how they find you, why you might be a target. Then we're going to talk about what you can do about it. Sounds good? Feel free to bring up questions, raise hands. This doesn't have to be a one-way conversation the whole time. This isn't a military briefing. I may have introduced it that way a little bit, but this is not a military briefing. This is a conversation. All right. So who are hackers? Really, a lot of different people could be hackers. There's a lot of different ways that you could categorize it. We've got 5 ways that we've kind of split it up here. And I'm going to go over a couple of them really quick because they're less concerning to most small and local businesses. The ones that are less concerning to local businesses are the things you hear about in the news, the stuff you see in Hollywood for the most part. They're the state-sponsored hackers, the hacktivists, and the lone wolves. Although the lone wolves, it's kind of like a catch-all. It's just kind of like anybody can do it. But these are the 3 people who aren't necessarily targeting your small business. The nation-state actors are fighting nation-states. We're talking U.S. versus pick your bad name. We're talking with the hacktivists. We're talking, if you've heard of the group Anonymous, these are people who have a political agenda that they're trying to push. They don't like you because you have a political. They don't like you politically. You're either an oil company or something that is pushing some agenda that they don't like. The lone wolves, like I said, are a catch-all, and some of these people are just hobbyists. Some of these people just want to hack the NSA. Say I hacked the NSA. These are they might do it for notoriety. This might include kids who are hacking their schools, computers to be able to change their grades, those kinds of things. The really 2 important ones that are up here that you need to pay attention to as a small business is the cyber criminal gangs, because they are out there and they are a small business. Literally, they operate like a business. They have sales forces, kind of. They're not selling things, they're stealing things, but they have a group of people who are out and looking for leads, generating leads on who they can find, who they can attack. They have call centers that are making phone calls, doing different parts of the hacking to be able to like basically enable this whole farming business of how they do cybersecurity. And these people, because they're a business model and they're looking for quick wins, they're looking for whoever's most vulnerable. And unfortunately, what happens with local businesses is that oftentimes they don't have the cybersecurity expertise that they need, therefore they are the vulnerable targets. That's why the cybercriminal gangs are increasingly going after the local business. It's not because they're targeting local businesses, and I'll tell you a little bit about why that is. It's just because those are the systems that are vulnerable. Those are the systems that they can attack. They're the easy wins. And then the other one is an insider threat up here. Insider threats are people who you already trust. This is people within your organization. Now, I don't tell you not to trust your employees. We have a lot of trust amongst ourselves, but the trust that we have with each other means that if I was to do something bad, I have a lot of power to do something bad already. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how you can kind of manage your system so that even an insider threat, even if it's like a very remote possibility, would be a mitigated situation. All right, so how do they operate? Just very similar to things that we do in the military, right? They go out and they do recon. They got to figure out where you are, where you're at, they got to figure out who the targets are that are available. And I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into each of the tools that are up here in just a little bit. But then once they figure out who the targets are, they find out what vulnerabilities they have that are exploitable. We then, and those vulnerabilities might be software vulnerabilities, hardware vulnerabilities. And when I say social engineering on here, I mean people vulnerabilities. Because as salespeople, you know that psychology is a very important part of working with people when you're making sales. And you use a lot of different things that you learned to make a sale to help and enable people to buy homes and to do other things for good purposes. Bad guys take advantage of the same psychology in order to get people to do things that they normally wouldn't do. If you've heard of people who downloaded malware because they clicked on a link or got their identity stolen because someone called them, those are social engineering. They use psychology tricks very similar to what is done in marketing and sales. Marketing and sales is not bad, but these are tools that bad guys are now using for bad purposes. And then what do they do once they're in? We'll go into details on basically where they go. Once they're inside, you might not be the target. Somebody else might be the target. But they may just want to hold your data for ransom. If you've heard of ransomware, they basically encrypt all your data. Now you don't have access to it. You pay me, I'll give you the money. You pay me and I'll give you your data back, is what they say. That's not actually entirely the truth most of the time. Or they just steal data to do fraud or like identity theft and other things as well. So going back to like network scanning tools, how are they finding your data? The internet is flat. We are neighbors with everybody. I can talk to my friends that I have across the world right now on my phone. They're right next door to me. The internet has made us all neighbors, which means that it doesn't matter where the hacker is in the world, they can find your business. They don't have to drive down the street and figure out, I want to go after this person's business because I see it and it looks like it's a vulnerable business. They can literally scan it from anywhere in the world using tools. I've got a couple listed up here. Shodan is a website that anyone can go to, shodan.io, and you can scan the entire worldwide internet and see what's connected to the internet at any given point in time.
What's that called?
Shodan. And we have a video of an example, which we may show you later, of how this works. But it's a website that's available, and it's really easy to do recon and gather the information. Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, these tools are there, and but Shodan's also used by legitimate companies. It's used by Google and Amazon and other companies gathering information about usage on the internet. Bad guys once again are turning the tools for bad. There's other network scanners like Nmap. That's a little bit more local, but in my days as a network engineer, we used Nmap all the time to make sure that we knew what devices were on what computers were in the network that we were trying to protect and defend. But bad guys can also use that now to find your stuff, find what's vulnerable. So then the other thing they do, heard of phishing? Who here's heard of phishing? Right? Good. Because that's a very major tool that hackers use. And they may call people on the phone. They may send you an email. I heard a story standing in line at the airport the other day. I was talking with the person who was standing behind me while we were getting on the aircraft. And they were talking about how their grandmother got a phone call from a dude who said that, did you know that somebody just bought a $500 iPhone on your Amazon account? And she's like, no, I didn't. And she fell for it. And basically, over time, this person got full access to all of her accounts, or if they didn't have access before, no iPhone had been bought on her Amazon account. They use things like urgency. That's social engineering, right? If you don't do it now, you're going to lose money. If you don't do it now, the police are going to come by your house. I got a text message about a month and a half ago that said if I didn't pay the toll that was outstanding, that they were gonna like fine me and like suspend my driver's license. But it was absolutely a scam. The language is bad, but and other things. Social engineering. The other one there is open source information, where we call it open source intelligence, sort of the OSINT word up there is. And this is just information that's available on the internet. This could be social media information that's already there. This could be your advertising information. Stuff that you want people to see. But bad guys can use it for their purposes. This is not necessarily free information. This could be also tools that we use for like lead generation. Like bad guys will buy a license to a lead generation tool in order to research and recon businesses that they might attack. Because they're going to make money off of it, just like somebody who's trying to use those lead generation tools to make sales. All right. Once they get in, these are some of the things, these are the fancy technical terms that you may or may not have heard of: viruses, ransomware, Trojans. One of a very popular technique is crypto mining. They'll install a program on your computer that mines cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever it is. But you don't get the benefit of it. They get the Bitcoin at the end of the day. They're using your computer to mine Bitcoin for themselves. That's crypto miners are a very popular thing, especially a few years ago. You don't hear about them as much because ransomware is the big thing that everybody's talking about right now. Or they might exploit hardware vulnerabilities in your routers, your cell phones, your computers, software misconfigurations of, it's possible to, or if you have Microsoft 365 and those kind of products, if you have an Apple product, they aren't secure by design. There are security features that are built into them, and there are some default security. There is additional security that has to take place in order for it actually to be secure. Not everybody knows that. They have to take advantage of the vulnerabilities and the stuff that people don't know by deceiving you, sending phishing. Malicious links is a very interesting one, where they'll send you a link to go to a website that looks like a legitimate. It might be like, hey, your bank needs you to sign in, and click on this link to go to your bank. And what it is it's sending you to a web page that looks exactly like your bank's web page, but it's controlled by the hacker. So everything you type in there, they get that information. And then what they do then is they pass that information straight through to your real bank website, and then they pass you to that bank website at the end. So it feels like you never did anything, but they've got all your banking information, all your login information. All right. What do they do once they're in? They try to steal your data. They try to steal your money. They may try to deny you access to your data. They may try and cause reputational harm by saying, hey, we have all of these clients we have all these clients, and we're going to release their personal information, and we're going to say it was your business that leaked all this information. Local business's reputation is everything. So but that, among other things, yes. I mean, that is a very excellent example of how those kind of things do occur. You might not be the target. That's another thing. Your business might not be the target. They may be targeting another business through you. because you have connections to mortgage companies, lawyers, other parts of the supply chain. They may actually just want to get into the bank, but they want to use your account to get into the bank. Once they use your account to get into the bank, they move inside the bank to get more privileges in the bank and then do something else. So you don't want to be liable for any of that because they say, hey, Chris, you hacked the bank. And you're like, no, I didn't. I didn't hack the bank. But it was somebody that used your credentials to hack the bank.
Hack the plan.
That's right. Hack the plan. So yeah, you might not be the actual final target of a hacking attempt. They might hack your business to get it to somebody else. And so what makes you a target? One of the things that a lot of local businesses run into is the assumption that they're not a target. We've talked about why that assumption is wrong today. We are all neighbors on the internet. It's really easy to find things all over the internet. The growing use of digital tools which enable business. I love the digital tools. I like using the computer. I like how much faster things are. I like being able to do my banking online. Actually, my primary bank is USAA. It doesn't have physical locations, except in one in Texas. Yep. Other than that, but I like being able to do my banking online and do it securely. But that's because USAA has big security teams making sure that it's all secure and safe. What local businesses don't have are those big security teams. They can't afford to buy those big security teams because they have the limited IT support. It might be Uncle Bob that set up, or yourself as a business owner that set up your entire IT infrastructure. That's not necessarily wrong, but it's, you could do with a little bit more expertise to really make sure that you're secure and safe. But then you have to spend time doing that. And so that's also time away from sales. That's time away from doing what you do and love best. You have valuable customer data. A lot of people nowadays, you will probably all agree that a lot of people nowadays are just not very aware. They're aware that cybersecurity is a thing, but they're really not aware of what they should do. And they get confused about what's a hack and what's not a hack, and like what happens after I've been attacked. How do I fix that? And then we already mentioned the access to larger companies through your credentials that they may have stolen. Any questions so far? All right. And we've actually kind of talked about all of this a little bit, but we also, as a society, have a high trust in emails and electronic communications that we get. If you get an email from somebody that says like kellerwilliams.com at the end, you're probably going to trust it. As a bad guy, they might be spoofing it. That could be a fake account. There are ways to do that. All right. I'm going to turn you over to Guy now. He's the good guy who's going to tell you all about protecting your business and what you can do to stop all the things I just talked about.
So, there weren't any questions, but I do have a question for you. How did the hacker get away from the FBI?
What?
He ran somewhere. So I want to just cover a couple things. This tool here, this little tiny Wi-Fi adapter, is how I break into, because I'm a hacker, I'm a good guy hacker, so are the others. But this is how I break into a Wi-Fi network. I just turn it on, look for the network, turn everybody off. When they reconnect, I capture the credentials. This is a long range. I can go about half a mile with this and sit in my car and hack Wi-Fi that way. This tool can be dropped, this little box can be dropped into your office and collect all the data on your network and send it back to me if I'm in my apartment in Milan, or if I'm vacationing in Colorado, or if I'm sitting in my place in Newark. This little thing is a very small USB. It's a computer. This is a computer as well. It's called Raspberry Pi. Oh, by the way, with the camera, so I can actually see what's happening in your office. This will unload all kinds of exploits and destroy your networks and send all the data that I want to my computer just by plugging this in and hitting this arm button right here. And in my little pocket here, this little dangerous tool is called the rubber ducky, well, for all things. It can plug in, it's just a USB, it plugs in, and I just put a micro SD in here, and I will program that micro SD to just input keyboard strokes. It's recognized on any computer as a keyboard, and it just starts tap it. Basically, it would be like me tapping away all the exploits that I want to do to get into your network, to download your data, and to use it for my report, because I'm not going to sell for something. But these are some of the tools that we use, and you've already learned some of the ways that that you could be vulnerable, and ways that you could be a target, you can be attacked. I'm here to tell you some of the good news about ways that you can actually, what you can do to protect yourself. So I wrote a couple of things up here to start with. MFA, multi-factor authentication. You may have seen it on a lot of the sites that you have accounts with. It may ask you to use multi-factor authentication, where it'll send you a text message or an email to verify that it's you. Another way is on an application that actually has a code, and you just have to enter that code from this application. It renews every 30 seconds or so. That's very important, because if I can get your credentials, which I can with these tools, I can get your credentials. I don't have access to your device unless I do that too. That's a very complex thing to do. But this is the way to make sure that your accounts are far more secure than just your password and your username. And the password list, there's about 50,000 of them. Every hacker has that list, and almost every password, like 98% of passwords that anyone uses, are some permutation of the words in that list. And we have a way to make that happen in about 30 seconds to 2 minutes.
Should we put our phones outside?
Well, I actually,
Remember, we're the good guys.
we are the good guys, but I do have a list here on my phone of all the devices connected to the Canadian Power site, and the Wi-Fi. And this is not to harm anybody, but I want to show you. It's very simple to. All I had to do was hit scan on this thing, and it just identifies all the systems on it.
But that's the thing that somebody like JP will use to make sure that you have like everybody who's properly authenticated.
Yeah.
So it's actually a tool that we use.
Yeah, for good.
For good.
But they can be used for evil too. So I've
Yeah.
got Deborah, I've got El Stroman, I've got David, Gingy, Jay Keenan, Andrew,
Don't read mine.
Gloria. Anyway,
So you would be able to access like those individual like devices?
that's a good question. So what this shows is just the systems that are on it, but also shows what like IP address they are, so we can connect to it. And then I have other tools that to do the next step. Okay, so that itself doesn't do it, but that gives me a target list.
That's the reconnaissance that I talked about earlier.
That's reconnaissance. And you know what?
Yeah.
Can you go ahead and pull up that? I could brief up on this. If you could pull up that video real quick. The other thing is virtual private network, VPN. That protects you so that when you're connecting on Wi-Fi, that nobody can see. So if I'm hacking and I'm using this to find all the devices and all networks, I'm not going to see your device. It makes it invisible to hackers. Some people say it'll help to anonymize you on the internet. That's actually not foolproof, but it does protect you on Wi-Fi. Everybody should have virtual private networking, especially if you're using different. If you're working away, you're working at Starbucks or Quarter Grounds in Odessa or wherever, all the different places you might be where you're on Wi-Fi. Two stones from me, or Twisted Irons. You know, some of these group pubs are great.
Is your VPN specific to your computer?
Good question. So you'll get an account. You'll sign up for like an account. They'll give you 5 devices you can put on your computer, your phone, your spouse computer. You know, whatever, all those systems. But anytime you're using Wi-Fi, you want your system to be using VPN, using any public Wi-Fi, even not public Wi-Fi, just your own Wi-Fi at home. That's good, because I could be hacking your home Wi-Fi and then I'll see where you're going. But with VPN, I won't see you. Yeah, you won't even exist to me. Another thing is, if you make that big screen, I'll go to that.
I'm working on it.
Okay, sorry. So the other thing is vulnerability scan. So Mike talked about how software and hardware all have certain vulnerabilities.
You got it.
Where
You see where I did what I did wrong?
Operating system or software has to be updated.
There we go.
Right? You see it all the time. A new update's out. You want to refresh and update that. That's because vulnerabilities come out every day. There's since there's already been, I think, over 7,000, I think, since 2025 began, new vulnerabilities that have come out that have been discovered in operating systems, in software, Adobe Acrobat, Gmail, all the different things, all kinds of software. And if those vulnerabilities exist and you don't know it, they can be exploited by the bad guys, right? So vulnerability scan is something you need to get, especially for your business systems, to make sure that you're aware, first of all, of what needs to be fixed, and then get them fixed. I did a little test last night, and I recorded this last night. Mike mentioned the Shodan. You asked about Shodan. This is the website where hackers can look at all the devices on the internet, every device on the internet, with certain search terms. They can put them into the field that you see up here, and then it's going to, and I'll have a list as a hacker. I'll have a list of vulnerable systems or vulnerabilities that I know I can easily exploit, and then I'll basically just Google that what's the Shodan search to find this vulnerability. It literally told me that. Okay, so this is a demonstration of how quickly. Did you start again? Sorry. Of how quickly it goes. So. And so, okay, so I plugged it in there. Doesn't mean anything to you, but it's a vulnerability on a particular piece of hardware. It's a storage device. I'm explaining it, but I don't have the video. So or the audio. So I can see there's 2,000 of this particular vulnerability. I drill down to the United States, and I can see there's 475 United States. Here I can download the results, and now I have my target list. Okay, and then I just have another automated tool that can exploit that. So, but I'm going to drill down here, and you can see I'm going to look at more cities. And there's all the cities, and I can actually drill down, and you'll see I found one in the city you guys might know on the Eastern Shore of Maryland called Chestertown. So there's Chestertown, and there's these devices here. So those two, if you pause it, those two, so that's been 54 seconds, and that's with me taking time to explain it, it can be done in like 20 seconds. I can find that device, and I can find that it's in Chestertown. I can get the IP address for it. I can see how I can just log into it and grab it. And I'll already have done my research to find out how I can exploit it and take over that system. So that was just less than a minute in that. Let's do another one. So wait, that's scary. There's another one. There's a 9,000 virtual devices were exposed without password. You could log into them without a password. And you just go on and start it. And it's going. Yeah, so here I put in the search for that for the VNC. It's called authentication disabled vulnerability. Nice. It search. It found 3,500. We go back to the United States. I can find where these are. This is what I'm trying to demonstrate there. I'm going to go to the cities, and I'm going to find one in Ballackinwood, which you'll see here in a second. You have Ballackinwood up in Philly, right?
Yeah.
You see all of these cities. This actually shows where the devices are in the world, and I can drill down to it. I grab that one. You can see I did slow selection. I'm explaining as I was going. And here it is. Okay, so this shows me also what the login screen would look like. It shows me a whole bunch of information about it, where it is, the IP address, and all that stuff. Thank you, Mike. You can go back to the slide then. So I wanted to show that to you so you really understand. They're not, attackers are not looking, again, for your business. They're looking for vulnerable systems on the internet, and they find them that fast. I mean, faster than that.
So what would you do with that, like with that information?
Okay, so
Then you go into the IP.
well, what I would do, first I would take, because I'm not just doing one at a time. In the first screen, to see where I point out the download. Okay, I can download all those, and that is now my target list. It comes as a CSV file. Okay, and I just input that into another tool called Metasploit. Okay, Metasploit, and what it does is it tells me which what are the best exploits. I can select from the menu, and it'll say this one's the most likely. This one's not likely, but you can make it work. I mean, and it literally rates them. So hackers have these automated tools that anybody can use. You can learn how to do it free on the internet. You can get the tools free. All these tools are free. I did pay for it. I can't show that because I have higher like more capabilities. But that's what they do. They'll make that target list, and then they'll just load the exploit that takes advantage of it. Or just like from that one in Chestertown, I could basically log into that. I know the basic IOMEGA is a system. I can just look for the default passwords for that, or I can try an automated password cracking tool against it and within 15 minutes or so, be able to download all that data myself.
Wow.
Okay. Now, if that does have multi-factor authentication on it, though, all I can do is put in the credentials. They're going to say, okay, put in the code for the multi-factor authentication. I don't have that. Okay. But that's so that's to build the target list, and you'll end up on a target list if you have vulnerabilities on your system. New vulnerabilities come out every day too, as I said. So the vulnerability scan is very important to have so that you understand what those vulnerabilities are, so you can take actions on them. And we do that, by the way, we offer that free for everybody. And then you can know how to, it'll also give you mitigation, how to fix it, if you want. Another way to protect yourself is with backups, is making sure that you have backed up all your data and secured your backup. If it's backed up on an IO device, okay, use multi-factor authentication. But back up your data, it was called 3-2-1 process. You want 3 backups of your data, one of them or 2 of them with 2 different media, meaning in the cloud and on a physical drive. And then one of them should be like a physical drive that's inside. If you're at the office, take that, get your download, back up your data on that drive, take it home with you. That way, if something happens to the office, if it's burglarized, if it's damaged or whatever, you still have that backup data. So backing up your data and encrypting it is a great idea, and there are a lot of tools that can do that. We have a lot of additional tools that can support that. Yes, ma'am.
So when you're backing up your data, like I have a little drive that I use, but should I have like a password on that drive? Like
You should. Yes, ma'am. So that's a good idea. You're already thinking. See, you're already thinking ahead of that. That's great. You already answered your question on that. So having that drive in and of itself could still be vulnerable because someone could grab it. You know, if it's in your house, it's not likely to be grabbed unless they break it and they got bigger problems, right?
Right.
But yes, definitely you want to password protect it if you can and encrypt it so that even if someone does get it, it's guardable to them and they're not able to decrypt it, or it will take a long time to decrypt it.
Okay.
Because decryption is a very arduous process, very resource intensive, and not a lot of people can do it fast. So definitely a password and having some encryption on that, which you may not be able to do by yourself, but of course we do. You know, but that for your backups. And if something happens, if you have a disaster, if you have ransomware attack, if you have a denial of service attack that Mike talked about, where an attacker will remove your ability to get access to your data or to your systems, the backup's going to save you from that because you already have your data on another source. You just back it up, put it on another. If this laptop is destroyed, take it to another laptop, plug it in, back it up, and now you're back in action. Staff training. Mike talked also about social engineering, how staff can be the weakest link in cybersecurity. If they don't know what to look for in phishing, everybody has acknowledged they've heard about phishing before. Smishing is the same thing with text. It's not only that, but it's also looking for how a system behaves and understanding what a hack looks like, what an attack looks like. What is if you're suddenly working and you're used to your service running at a certain speed, like you can accomplish a task in like 5 minutes, but it's lagging, the computer's lagging, it's slow, you may be under attack. You may be by using like also described the like crypto mining. A lot of systems will be using a lot of those resources to crypto mine for somebody else to get them their coins. And that's, you won't always see that. You very rarely will see that, but you have to be able to notice, and staff need to be able to understand, you know, what not to click on, what not to follow, how to recognize what's happening, and recognize even strange things that aren't obvious. A ransomware, you get a ransom note, pops up right away, you know, immediately. And then you get hit your stomach and you start crying. So look at your bank accounts and all the people that you love. But there's other ways that they need to, other things they need to look for, so they're aware, and so they're not the weak link. And then incident response plan. You're probably, I was going to write up here when I came up. You're either a target now or you're about to become a target. Didn't always I'm writing that, but just so you either are a target now or you will eventually be a target, and you need to have a plan for how you respond if you are hacked. If you have an attack, you have to be able to understand, what do we do next? Where is our data? Who do we need to call? Who is doing what are the jobs? You're going to report this to, you know, our IT department. You're going to communicate with customers who might have their information. We'll probably slow that down to make sure you understand the whole scope of the attack before you go into actually sharing that information. We may also have regulatory responsibilities to respond to or report to the police. So, and there's people that need to have roles in incident response, and you need to have a plan so you know what to do if you're attacked, because you don't have time to make a plan when you're being attacked. So, some of the other things, cyber insurance is another thing. There's good and bad. Cyber insurance will usually they're there to help you with, well, they're there to earn money, just like real life. but that product is meant to help you in case you are attacked, so that your expenses can be covered and systems can be restored and stuff. But they're going to give you a set of guidelines that you probably need to comply with so that you can be insurable, right? It's like a risk assessment kind of thing they need to do so you can manage that. But do understand about 25% of claims pay out, only 25%, because people haven't done those things, have not done things like the vulnerability scan. They haven't done the backups, these kinds of things that make them uninsurable, or at least unrecoverable. They'll take your money, but they won't give it to you because you haven't done all these things. So is there another slide after this?
No.
Okay. So all of these things, I hope you understand how easy it is. Matt came at one of the first engagements we had with somebody, and we came out of it, and he said, "So, Dad, basically, we're here to scare the hell out of people so they can take our service, use our services." Kind of, okay, but it's really telling you the truth, telling you how vulnerable you are, and that there's help. Okay, that you can protect yourself. And a lot of these things are things you can do on your own, like the MFA. You get a VPN on your own. You can back up your own stuff, but other things need a little more professional guidance. That's what we're here for. And also some of the home grade equipment, like home grade service, like a VPN for your home, is not necessarily appropriate for your business, because there's some tools that the business grade products have that are much that cover the things you need to cover that the home doesn't, home versions don't. And these kinds of things. So vulnerability is there. There are things you can do, and we're here to do the rest. So let me open up the floor for some questions. We've got a couple more minutes.
Do you guys do social media account recovery?
Yes, we do. We do. That's a common thing that happens, is people get their Instagram hacked, or their Twitter hacked, and or their game account hacked, or Steam account. We have a guy that has a Steam account hacked. And it's there's some things you can do on your own. There's other things that take a considerable more technical understanding in, and there's also, if none of those things work, there's also hackers who can find the person, okay, and get it back using the same ways they got back.
Yeah, no.
Any other questions?
Basically, he's got Wasim Sherman in the stone, and you don't find his services.
That's always a funny conversation over a few years, like, how do we get business? Like, yeah, we know how to do. But yeah, and to Matt's point though, we're local cybersecurity for small business. We know that everything that our entire business depends on us being trustworthy and responsive and caring for your business, just like it is for you. Yes.
So with cars and everything becoming more technology based, see cars getting hacked.
Yeah.
Is there a way to protect that car?
It depends. The answer is it depends, but yes, there are entire fields of cybersecurity professionals that are out there trying to figure out to make sure to secure all the vehicles. It depends on what's getting hacked. There's different ways to get into it. If your vehicle has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, those are two different ways to get in, two different ways to secure it. If you have a Tesla, where it's entirely, like the entire thing is just an operating system that runs wheels. That's literally all that a Tesla is. There's nothing else. They have to secure that. But yes, so you can't, that has shown that it is difficult to hack. Every year people try to hack it. There's a competition called Pwn to Own. But it's not unhackable. Like there's no such thing as unhackable.
Yeah, you can't make it completely secure, but there are things you can do. We don't specialize in that, but we know all the techniques. So I mean, if that's your concern, yeah.
And then I've seen them where they do what's the charger or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like public charging.
Well, yeah, because like there's public charging, like anything So he talked about this rubber ducky, right? So if I put something in that public charger has a computer inside of it that you hook up to. Yeah, it hooks up to your Tesla, and it knows, or your electric vehicle, it hooks up to your electric vehicle. It talks with your electric vehicle to be able to charge it as fast as possible. That's because there's network communication going across there. So if I'm a bad guy and put some device on there to have it also inject my malicious code, that's absolutely a potential vulnerability.
So
that's
that's
pretty much-
pricing like the credit card when they have.
Yep. Skimmers.
Yeah, skimmers, credit cards. Yeah, always pull out.
Yeah.
Pull it out before you put it in.
That's
Yeah. Or better yet, use Apple Pay or whatever. By the way, I did security for Apple Pay.
Is that better for Apple Pay, Google Pay? Is that better than using your physical card?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It has a whole bunch. It's a bulky encryption system and stuff. So using your phone to pay has just so much more security features on it than just tapping or dipping your.
Yeah, I think I had saw that it generates a new, like if you like a swiping a card, that's that only number.
Yes.
If you're using Apple Pay, it generates a whole new different
Right.
number. It's each time you use it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's almost like using a different credit card every time. It's not that, but it's almost like it.
Right.
As far as the bad guys go, 'cause it's like there's a whole other thing about like what information you can get across the internet. The information that Apple has about your credit card and the information that your bank has about the credit card matches. But what goes over the internet is different every time.
Yeah.
A good rule of thumb for any sort of integration of technology into whatever you're using is basically any feature that you're adding could also be a vulnerability. All
Yeah.
these technology that's getting slapped onto cars, homes, like smart homes.
I was about to ask you though, that how do you guys feel about, the door locks with the codes
Oh,
and
yeah.
all of that?
They can be good if they're configured properly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the majority of them aren't. That's and that's the biggest thing is the majority of them are marketed so that you get it and you hook it up to your Wi-Fi network and now it's good to go. But it's actually not really good to go because
Yeah. 'Cause
it
they're
does
small.
potentially introduce vulnerabilities.
They're small or smaller than this, and they don't have the capability to provide security. So what you have to do is secure the whole network instead to make sure that the network's secure. So only the things that should be talking to that ring, or that doorbell or the cameras or your lights, only the things that are supposed to get to it can get to it. So we're out of time.
Yeah, guys, I was gonna say, these guys are gonna be here for a good while.
Yeah, we'll go back in that room with the sandwiches if you want to pick our brains.
And you guys go over your
Well, I pick the
business.
sandwich.
We know.
Thank you.